Okay, this is Sales Evolution, October 9th, 2012. Here's our agenda, what we're going to look at for next several minutes. This is actually taken from an article that I had authored in Employee Benefit Advisor magazine. You can read that article. I'm not going to be showing you the article, but it was July 1 of this year, and it's at just type in employee. Don't do this now, but it's employeebenefitadvisor.com, and if you look under the well, I'm not sure where it's actually in there in the article, but you can find my name in there. So what we're going to look at is how we can segment our producers. Now this works also equally well for any kind of employee, but since we're talking about selling and making more profitability, we're going to focus on the people that do that, and that's the producers and the account reps. I don't want to leave those people out, so I should have put that word in there, but I always think of them as kind of a team. We're also going to tie the production and performance evaluations that the production that the producers produce, as well as the performance evaluations that hopefully your organizations do on an annual, maybe more frequent basis, which would be even better. We're going to tie that into the bell curve and show you how you can do that. And then why we need to practice cultivating A, B, and C players. They need to be cultivated. Now, I didn't use the word managed because I have a problem with that. It's really, we're not managing people, we're leading people. Managers kind of do things right, but leaders always do the right thing, and that's the difference. So we're going to cultivate and exercise these athletes and see what we can do. And then we'll probably have some questions and comments along the way. If you do have a question, just so we have this in a kind of an orderly way, there's a little hand sign that's on the GoToMeeting or the GoToWebinar. Just click on that. That'll pop up to your name, and I can then call on you. All right, let's identify what we're talking about. An A player. A players are your superstars. Every organization has A players. These are the people, the men and the women. They bring in the bacon. Their attitudes don't quit. You know, their resiliency is fabulous. You can't knock them down. They might leave some roadkill in the wake because they're always charging ahead, but they're steady producers. And this, ultimately, you want a team of A players, but that really is impractical. It's an elusive goal. It's an elusive goal, but it's a very worthy goal to try and produce a team of A players, superstars. Now, your team of producers is going to be a minority of A players. It always will, if you're practicing what we're going to be talking about here. Now, a B player these are good people. They're good producers. They're not making the producer trips necessarily, or maybe once in a while, whereas the A players are there every single year. But they're good people. They're steady eddies, and they're going to bring home what needs to be done. And then there's the C player. Now, C players, we've got some question marks on them, and we think about these, and we talk about these people in our management meetings. You guys do. And you're wondering, maybe don't call him a C player, but what are we going to do with Joe Blow, you know, who just is up and down, you know, attitude is not consistent, product knowledge, not keeping up with the product knowledge, not using technology like the FutureOffice Network, which, you know, as we all know, can make you a whole lot more money. You practice this thing, you know, you're going to have a much higher closing ratio and a shorter sales cycle. It's been proven time and time again. But they're not taking advantage of that. Maybe they got really excited at one time and they fall back into old sins. These are problem people. But that's a C player. Now, this is my freehand version of a bell curve here, so I apologize that it's not more smooth. But you get the idea. And this is really what we're going to do. This is over here, these are your A players. Your A players are going to be 30% of your producer population. Now, if you want to think in a larger sense, think about 30% of your entire team, because you can use this tool very effectively in almost any kind of a context. But 30% is what you're going to shoot for your A players. 50%, which is going to be the bulk of your people, and that's kind of why you have the big part of the curve here. These are your B players. There's a lot of them. Now, the B players can go down, or the B players can go up. You want them to go up. And when they get up here, they're on the cusp of becoming an A player. And certain privileges and certain responsibilities are going to fall on them when they become an A player, which we'll tackle in just a second. But these are the C players. They're the lower 20%. These numbers are not arbitrary. These are numbers that really, this is actually taken from some readings and some things that I was privy to of how Jack Welch used to do performance appraisal at General Electric, when he was at the helm prior to 2011 when he retired. So these are your C players down here. Now, how do you tie employee testing and performance appraisal into the bell curve? Well, the first and most obvious one is production. You know, are your producers, the goals and the quotas that you set for them, and the profitability measures, are they, whatever the metrics may be around production, are they hitting the metrics? Your A players are always hitting the metrics, or seldom missing them. Nobody's perfect. B players, kind of a 50-50, 75-25 proposition. Production is going to be kind of erratic. And the C players, you really are scratching your head. You're really not sure they're going to make it. Now, the reality is that in my work over the last 25 years with brokerage firms of every size and all over the country, I have found that organizations put up with C players. And I'm not sure why. Maybe it's their friends, maybe they're related, it's a family business, could be all kinds of things like that. We're not really talking about that this morning. What we're talking about is hardball business and how to improve your organization and its effectiveness, particularly since what all of you guys and what we all do is sell. Behavioral scores. Now, behavioral scores will feed into production, so you have to measure this as well. Behaviors such as attitude, ability to take constructive criticism, ability to be resilient when you get a rejection on a call, which everybody goes through that. These kinds of things. There are behaviors, winning behaviors, that will feed production and will also push that individual up into the A player category. Predictive scores. We are really fortunate to live in a time when we have some fantastic testing tools that we can use that will predict behavior. Predict behavior. You can know ahead of time how somebody is going to respond in a certain situation. Now, probably a lot of you have taken this test, but I want to bring it up nevertheless. I've taken it twice, and we use it in our business. It's called the caliper test. The caliper test is a predictive test. It is a test that will tell you things that you cannot get in an interview. As good of an interview as you are, it'll tell you, things like, well, in this situation here with this kind of a person, here's how they're going to interact. This is how, the person's, their drive, their ego drive, which is something you want to measure in sales. How strong is that ego drive? We want people with strong ego drive. Anyway, it goes through a number of metrics, a number of scores, and it can predict whether or not this person has the profile of a successful salesperson. So don't count out predictive scores and tests. And then responsiveness to training. Now, this is particularly apropos for the B players. for reasons that we're going to kind of probably all conclude, the C players may not be good candidates for training. But the B players are. Because remember, the B players can go either way. The B players can go right down into C player category, at which point they are at risk of losing their job. Or they can go up, or they can kind of maybe stay the same for a little while. You need people to be kind of, you know, they're not superstars, but they're producing. But ultimately, if you're trying to constantly build a better organization, you want to push people up and build your A class, And then the last part here is the winning attitude, and that goes without saying. If a person has a losing attitude, they're down, they're moody, there's two problems with that. Number one, they're going to convey that to the customer, and you're going to blow off a customer or a prospect, and you know that might be your last shot. But there's something even worse than that, as bad as that is, and that is the person with the losing attitude is a cancer. The person with the losing attitude is a person who is dissatisfied with his or her job. And you can look at the literature on that, and I have. And one of the things you'll find out is that from an organizational behavior point of view, a person that is dissatisfied with their job or has a losing attitude, you can't tell the two apart. People will say that that's the best thing you can do is get rid of that person, because it is a cancer. It'll infect positive people and they will become negative. It's a funny phenomenon, but it will happen. So watch out for those people that have a losing attitude, are kind of down. It is a signal, my friends. It is a signal of a dissatisfied employee, and they're hard to bring them back and into the fold. Okay, why we need to cultivate A, B, and C players. Now, I wish I had a nickel for every time I've seen this, and I hope that this part, I say this with some kind of humility. Forget about weaknesses if you can. We all have weaknesses. We all have strengths. Let's forget about the weaknesses. And here's the reason why. Most weaknesses are innate to the person. They're innate. You're dealing with something that, you know, when mom dropped you on your head when you were 5 years old. It's innate. The weaknesses generally do not get, maybe you can have, if you work at it really hard, you can make some improvement in your producer's weakness, but it's not worth the time and the effort to do that. The better idea that I would like to proffer to you is that recognize the weaknesses, get them out on the table, and then say, okay, you know what? If you want to hear my weaknesses, I'll tell you mine too. I got a few. But don't deal with them anymore. Try to minimize putting your producer in situations where they have to play to their weaknesses, because they're not going to win then. They're going to lose. A better idea is to find out what they also have. Each one of us has those strengths. And those strengths, that is where you're going to make superstars. That's where you're going to make the A players. And when you find some person's strengths, exercise them like an athlete. Exercise their mental strengths. Put them under an element of stress, because we all know that when we're under stress, not too much stress, but if we look at a bell curve again and just kind of picture this in your mind, you should be putting your producers under stress at about 9 o'clock. 9 o'clock on a bell curve. When you get to 10 o'clock, you're getting into the red zone. And what happens in the red zone, when you go up that bell curve, let me just go back here, a couple slides here. Okay, this would be about 9 o'clock right here. Oops. This would be about 10 o'clock. This is the red zone. See, when you start going over this part here, what happens is stress is so high, but if this is the productivity axis, productivity is actually going down, and stress on this axis is going higher. So you're really losing both ways. You're losing productivity and you're losing an employee. So be careful about stress. Now, if you put a person, if this is productivity here, and you put a person at this level of stress going across here, well, the productivity isn't very high. So you can afford, especially with the B players and absolutely the A players, put them at about 9 o'clock and hold them at that level. They will perform better as a result of being at that spot. Now, separate winners from losers. Losers are job dissatisfiers. They're cancer. They will infect other good people, and eventually you're going to end up with a whole bunch of people, and you're really going to be scratching your head. So this is something you want to nip in the bud. Take those winners, treat them well, stroke their egos, and the losers, you have to kind of really do a good ascertainment of whether or not if there's anything that's salvageable. Pay most attention, my friends, to your A players. They're the ones that are going to build your business. You can build your business around those people, but if they leave, that's a problem. So you want to make sure that all the things that we all have been taught to manage them, to pay attention, to make them feel they're needed, and give them the strokes, and in public, in front of other people, and also reward them, you know, with bonuses and good incentive compensation. You're going to keep those people, and you can build a business around them. Pay special attention to the B players, not the most attention, but special attention to your B players, because you're going to cut those B players in half. The B players that are going to go on to become A players, put them on that track. The ones that are falling off and going into C player status, well, see if you can keep them from doing that, if you can find out what it is, because at one point they were better because you classified them as a B, and now they're falling down. Well, why did they fall down? Are you a good leader? Are you a bad leader? Or maybe you're not the person that leads these people. Maybe it's somebody else. Are they the problem? That needs to be examined also, because you all, at the end of the day, you've got these people here, and they're going to make a living for you. And then lastly, and you do this with dignity, you decide on your C players. Now, I mentioned Jack Welch. When Jack Welch practiced this exact methodology, he would tie the performance appraisal scores. And every performance appraisal has a score. Maybe you never really noticed it before, but they all do. You can just add up the scores, and there's a number you can have. The bottom 20% of the numbers of the scores, those people were asked to, if they were particularly problematic, to leave the organization immediately, or they were sent a signal, and after a while everybody knew that once you fell into, and they would post the results, not with names obviously, but they would post what numbers are C players. So if you've got a performance appraisal and you're in a C category, basically the telegraph is start looking for another job because you're not going to be here much longer. And don't make it so hard on us that we have to fire you. That's really kind of the way you want to set that up. But one way or the other, you have to get rid of the C players. Okay, now you got rid of the C players. Now you've got A and B players. Now, the next time you do a performance appraisal, and you're constantly adding, because those A players are growing your business and you have to add people to grow, well, your next performance evaluation, based on the metrics that we looked at back here, oops, I went past them, I'm sorry. Here we go. These are the metrics, and you're going to have people that were formerly B players, but now because those people had lower scores and they're gone, suddenly they're going, whoa, I think I better move up here a little bit, otherwise I'm going to be down in that lower 20%, and I'm going to be the person in trouble. And you know what? That's part of the plan. I know this is real hardball, but this is a winning way to run your organization. Okay, I wanted to, now I want to talk with you and get some thoughts on this, on your ideas, but I want to let you know that for 2013 we're going to turn up the power a little bit on FutureOffice Network. And one of the things that we're going to be looking at, and I'm going to be writing about in the magazine, is primal selling. I've already got one in the can, and we're going to be looking at those real basic elements. For those of you that have worked with me for some time, you know that I talk about the motivators of fear and greed, and I'm writing the November issue is going to be on contentment in the sales presentation, but basic things that all people respond to. And we call it primal selling. And we're going to be laying out a lot of those things, and you know, they're base level things, they're natural things, and so everybody's going to respond to that. So I'm going to open it up to questions now. You can ask me questions, you can comment, you can give a point of view. I see Don, Don, you are open. Good. Okay, everybody's got their mic open, so anybody have any questions, comments, things that you've done in your organization, either along these lines or others that have worked effectively? Brian, I just turned you on. You must have joined after I was talking there, so your microphone is open now too. Okay, everybody's mic is open. Don't speak all at once. Does this make sense to you? Does anybody disagree with this methodology? Is it too harsh for your culture? Stephanie, or let me pick on you. Okay. Looks like some people we just lost off. All right. Well, if there are no comments, I want to thank you for letting me bend your ear for the last 27 minutes. We're on time for 30 minutes. This will be also on YouTube as well as on FutureOffice, and you can go and you can check it out. I want to thank you for your time. If you have a comment or if you have a question, connect with us at 262-432-0707, and have yourselves a great day, everybody. Goodbye.